Day 17, lines and angles, triangles and angles, perimeter and circumference, and area. We're going to start with lines and angles. An angle is the figure formed by two rays with a common endpoint called the vertex. The angles are measured in degrees, where 360 degrees is a complete rotation, and a protractor is an instrument used to measure and draw angles. The protractor has two rows of degree measures so that you can use the measured angles that open to the left or the right. For example, to measure the angle below LMN, you would use the top row of the degree measures. To measure the angle QRS, you would use the bottom row of the degree measures. Both angles measure 60 degrees up from 0 degrees. Angles are classified according to their measures. An acute angle measures less than 90 degrees. A right angle measures exactly 90 degrees. An obtuse angle measures greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. And a straight angle measures exactly 180 degrees. Two angles are complementary if the sum of their measures is 90 degrees. And two angles are supplementary if the sum of their measures is 180 degrees. Hold on, I just want to make sure. Okay, two lines that intersect to form right angles are perpendicular. The symbol that looks like that upside down capital T means perpendicular to. So if you look here, it says that your rays A, B, and CD are perpendicular to one another. So it just means that those two lines intersect and they form a 90-degree angle. They have to form a 90-degree angle in order for them to be perfect. If we look at some of these different types of angles, we have two lines also intersect to form two acute angles and two obtuse angles. The adjacent angles formed, which share a common vertex and side, are supplementary. The vertical angles formed, which share a common vertex but not a common side, are congruent. Angles that are congruent have the same degree measures. The symbol with the equal sign with a squiggly line on top of it means is congruent to. So if we look at, the table that we have here, it tells us that the angle GOE plus the angle EOH is equal to 180 degrees. So that is GOE, this one here, and EOH is this one here. So that's the total of 180 degrees, or a straight line. It also tells you that the angle EOH and HOF are equal to 180 degrees. Angle HOF and angle FOG are equal to 180 degrees, as well as angle FOG and angle GOE are equal to 180 degrees. Two lines in the same plane that never intersect are parallel. The symbol those two lines that are next to each other means is parallel to. So in these, JD is parallel to AT. A line that intersects two or more parallel lines is called a transversal. In the figure below, the line TU is a transversal. Two parallel lines intersected by a transversal form pairs of congruent angles. Pairs of congruent angles in the figure are listed in the table below. So we have corresponding angles are angle 1 and 5, 3 and 7, 2 and 6, and 4 and 8. Your alternate interior angles are 3 and 6, as well as 4 and 5. And then your alternate exterior angles are 1 and 8, and 2 and 7. For some examples that, are not done for us, we're going to look at 13, and it says to find the complement and supplement of each. So for A, we have 50 degrees. So your complement for 50 degrees is 90 minus 50, which is 40 degrees. And then your supplementary would be 180 minus 50, which is 130 degrees. For B, you have 8 degrees, so that would be 90 minus 8 degrees is 82 degrees. And then for your supplementary, the 180 minus 8 is 172 degrees. For C, we're given 77 degrees, so to find the complementary, we're going to do 90 minus 77, which is 13 degrees. And for the supplementary, we're going to do 180 minus 77, which is 103 degrees. 14 says to find the measure of each angle formed by the hands of a clock at each given time. We're not going to do that. However, we are going to classify each angle as acute, right, obtuse, or straight. For A, we have 1 p.m., so that's going to be your big hand is at the 12, the little hand's at the 1, so that is an acute angle. For B, we have 4 p.m., so that big hand's going to be at the 12. The 4 is going to be about here, so that's an obtuse angle. And then at 6 p.m., it would be at 12 and at 6, so that is a straight angle. "15 says two angles are supplementary. One angle is 8 times larger than the other. Find the measures of the two angles." So if they are supplementary, I'm just going to put this over here, they're equal to 180 degrees. So it tells you that one angle is 8 times larger than the other. So the angle that's larger is 8 times, so it's 8 times x, plus the other is going to be the 180 degrees. So if we combine these, we have 9x is equal to 180. We can divide each side by the 9 to get that x is 20 degrees. The 8x is going to be 160 degrees. For 16, it says lines A, B, or line AB is parallel to line CD, and the measure of the angle CEF is equal to 43 degrees. Find the measure of each angle. So for A, we are finding the measure of the angle AEF. So AEF is this. We're going to do 90 degrees minus 43 degrees, which gives us 47 degrees. For B, we're finding the measure of the angle DEG. Well, DEG is congruent with the FEC, so that is 43 degrees. For C, we're looking for AED. So AED is actually a right angle, so that's 90 degrees. And then for DGEC is this angle here, which is congruent to the angle AEF. So that's 40. No, it's not. I'm sorry. It is not congruent to that angle. It is congruent to the angle that we don't have. So we're going to have to find this. So that's going to be 180 minus 43 degrees. So that's going to be 137 degrees. For 17, it says that the line JK is parallel to the line LM, and the measure of the angle 6 is 148 degrees. So this is 148 degrees, which means angle 8 is 148 degrees, which means angle 2 is 148 degrees, and angle 4 is 148 degrees. If we find the missing angles, it's just 32 degrees. For our next part, we are going over triangles and angles. Triangles can be classified by types of angles they contain. An acute triangle has 3 acute angles. A right triangle has 1 right angle and 2 acute angles. And an obtuse triangle has 1 obtuse angle and 2 acute angles. Triangles can also be classified by the number of congruent sides. So a saline triangle has no congruent sides and no congruent angles. An isosceles triangle has at least 2 congruent sides and at least 2 congruent angles. And an equilateral triangle has 3 congruent sides and 3 congruent angles. The sum of the measures of the angles of any triangle is 180 degrees. In the triangle ABC below, the angle BCE is an exterior angle. An exterior angle of a triangle is an acute angle that forms a straight angle with one of these angles of the triangle. If you look here, ABC is the interior angle of the triangle adjacent to the angle BCE. The 2 angles at the remaining vertices, angle B and angle A, are called remote interior angles. The measure of an exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the measure of the 2 remote interior angles. So the angle BCE, which is the 75 degrees, is equal to the angle A plus the angle B. So that's 30 degrees and 45 degrees. For some examples that are not done for us in these short response questions, for 11, it says to classify each triangle according to the angles. So because this has an obtuse angle, this is an obtuse triangle. Because for B, we have acute angles, that's an acute triangle. And then for C, we have a right angle there, so that's a right triangle. 13 says to find the measure of the third angle of a triangle if the measures of the other 2 angles are. For A, we have 147, so that would give us 147. 147. We are going to take the 147 and subtract it from 180. So the 0 becomes a 10, the 8 becomes a 7, so this is going to be 33 degrees. For B, they give us 63 and 29. So we're going to add those. When we add them, we get 92. So we're going to subtract the 92 from 180. The 0 becomes a 10. The 8 becomes a 7, then the 17, making the 1 a 0. So this the 180 minus 92 gives us 88 degrees. For C, they give us 8 and 114. So 114 plus 8 gives us 122 degrees. We are going to take that and subtract it from 180. The 0 becomes a 10, making the 8 a 7, so that leaves us with 58 degrees. For 14, it says in an isosceles triangle, the measure of a base angle is 42 degrees. Find the measure of the vertex angle. So you have an isosceles triangle. So this would be 42 degrees, which also means that this is 42 degrees. So if we did the 42 plus the 42, we get 84. If we subtract that 84 from 180, we are going to have 96 degrees. For perimeter and circumference, with your perimeter, the perimeter of a polygon is the distance around the polygon. To find the perimeter, just add the lengths of the sides. To find the perimeter of a rectangle, you can do the two lengths added together, or 2 times one of the lengths plus 2 times one of the widths. To find the perimeter of a regular polygon, multiply the length of each side by the number of sides. So an equilateral triangle, that's just 3 times the side length. A square is 4 times one of the side lengths, and a regular pentagon is 5 times one of the side lengths. For circles, a circle is a flat closed curve that has all its points in the same distance from the inside point called the center. A circle is not a polygon because it is not made of straight line segments. A radius is a line segment that has the center and a point on the circle as endpoints. A chord is a line segment that has 2 points on the circle and as endpoints. The diameter is a chord that has both endpoints on the circle and that passes through the center. The length of the diameter d is twice the length of the radius r. A central angle is an angle whose vertex is at the center of the circle. Another thing that you may want to note is that your circumference is equal to 2 times your radius times pi, or your circumference, c, is equal to 2 times your radius is your diameter times pi. You'll see here that your center is that O, your radius is the line OA, OB, or OC. Your chord is AC, the line AC, or the line DE. Your diameter is only AC. And your central angle can be AOB or BOC. The distance around the circle is called the circumference, which is the formula that I just gave you above. The circumference is about 3 times longer than the circle's diameter. The exact ratio of the circumference to the diameter is represented by the Greek letter pi. Pi is an irrational number whose value is approximately 22/7 or 3.14. To find the circumference of a circle, use the formula circumference is equal to pi times the length of diameter, or the circumference is pi times the diameter, or 2 pi times r, since 2r is the diameter. So for some short response questions that are not done for us, for 11, it tells us to find the perimeter of the polygon. So we have side lengths of 10, 24, 11, 7, 5, 19, 8, and 16. So the only thing we have to do is add all of these up. So we're going to do 10 plus 24 plus 11 plus 7, 5, 19, 8, and 16. If we add all of these up, we are going to have 40, and then this would be 10, so that's 100, and then our unit of measure is centimeters. 12 says to find the perimeter of a regular octagon, that's 8, with each side measuring 7.6 inches. So we can do 7.6 times 8. The 8 times 6 is 48. This 8 times 7 plus 4 is 60. We have 1 decimal point, so our answer should have 1, and then our unit of measure is inches. 13 says find the perimeter of the polygon. All angles are right angles. So we are missing a couple side lengths. The one that is here is 9 feet. The one that is here is 2 feet. And then the length here is 4 plus 3, which is down below, plus 4. So that gives us 11 feet. So to add all of these, we're going to do 11 plus 2 plus 4 plus 9 plus 3 plus 9 plus 4 plus 2. So we add all of this up and we get 44 feet. We are going to skip the next two problems and move into area. The area of a closed plane figure is the number of square units that are contained within its interior. Some units of area are square inches, or inches squared, square feet, or feet squared, square centimeters, and square meters. These formulas can be used to find the area. For a rectangle, you have length times width. For a square, that's your side length squared. For a parallelogram, that's your base times height. For a triangle, it's 1/2 times your base times height. For a trapezoid, it's 1/2 times the height times your base 1 plus base 2, so the top plus the bottom. And then for a circle, it's pi times your radius squared. So looking at some examples that are not done for us whenever we get to them. There we go. All right. So for number 10, it tells us what is the area of the figure when x is 6 and y is 8. So for x, we have 6. So that's going to be 2 times 6, which is 12. And for y, we have 8. So that's 8 plus 1, which is 9. The area of this parallelogram is just your base times your height. So that means that we are going to have 9 times 12. And 9 times 12 is 108. So it's 108 units squared. For 11, it says the area of a triangle is 32.4 centimeters squared, and the height of the triangle is 5.4 centimeters. What is the length of the base of the triangle? So if we remember for 11, the area of a triangle is 1/2 times your base times your height, or base times height divided by 2. It tells us that our area is 32.4, so that's 32.4 is equal to your base times your height divided by 2. Well, your base you don't know, but your height is 5.4 centimeters. So to solve this for b, we are going to multiply each side by 2. These are going to cancel out. We are going to have the 32.4 times 2 is going to give us 8, 4, and 6. So 64.8 is equal to your base times 5.4. So we're going to divide each side by 5.4. These cancel out, so you're just going to have base is equal to the 5.4 is going to turn into 54, making the 64.8, 648 divided by 54. So when we divide these two, we get 12, and we were working with centimeters. That's 12 centimeters is our base. For 12, it tells us that a rectangle is twice as long as it is wide. The area of the rectangle is 50 feet squared. What is the length of the rectangle? The area of a rectangle is length times width. So it tells us that the rectangle is twice as long as it is wide. So that means that the area is 50 feet squared, so it's going to be 50 is equal to, your length is 2 times the width, so that's 2w times w. So 2w times w is going to be 2w squared. So 50 is equal to 2w squared. We are going to divide each side by 2 to get 25 is equal to w squared. We then would take the square root of both sides to get that w is 5. So our length is 2 times our width, so 2 times 5, which is 10 feet. For 13, it tells us that the Wilsons decided to enlarge their rectangular patio. They doubled the length and tripled the width. of the original patio. What is the ratio of the area of the new patio to the area of the original patio? We are going to skip this one because it does not have what I'm looking for you to know how to do. So we're going to move into your practice. For the first page, it says which pair of angles is complementary. So for A, gives you 70 plus 70 or 70 degrees, and 70 degrees, that's 140 degrees. That's not complementary. For B, we have 123 plus 57 degrees, which is 180 degrees. That's not complementary, that's supplementary. For C, we have 145 degrees, just 45 degrees and 90 degrees, so that's 135 degrees. It's not complementary. And then D is 16 plus 74 degrees, that's 90 degrees, so D is your answer. For 2, it asks which measure is the obtuse angle. It does not give you angles here, so we can do something like 102 degrees is an obtuse angle. Anything greater than 90 degrees but less than 180. So you can put any measurement there that's anything between 91 and 179 degrees. For 3, it says an angle measures 33 degrees. What is the measure of its supplement? Remember, supplementary angles equal 180 degrees. So 180 minus 33 degrees is going to leave us with 147 degrees. 4 says, what is the measure of the angle ABD? ABD is the other half of the 180 degree angle there. So 180 minus 145 gives us 35 degrees. For 5, it says the number of degrees in 5/6 of a straight angle is. That's just 180 times 5/6. So the 6 would turn into a 1, the 180 would become 30, so that's 150 degrees. All right, so for 6, it says the measure of an angle is 50 degrees more than the measure of its supplement. What is the measure of the smaller angle? So that means that if they're supplementary, they equal 180, so it's x plus 50 equals 180. So that gives us 2x plus 50 equals 180. We subtract that 50 from each side. We have 2x is equal to 130. We divide each side by 2, so x gives us 65 degrees. So the x plus 50 will be 115. That means that our the one that is of the smaller is the 65 degrees. For 7, it says the line LM is perpendicular to line NP. What is the measure of the angle QON? So QON is this other part here. They are perpendicular, which means they form a 90-degree angle. So the only thing we have to do is 90 minus 64. That would be turning into a 10. This turns into an 8. So that's 26 degrees. For 8, it tells us that the line VW is parallel to the line XY. If the measure of angle 3 is 80 degrees, so that's 80 degrees here, which of the following is not true? Well, angle 1 is going to equal 80 degrees, angle 5 is equaling 80, and so is 7. That means that 2, 4 is 100. Same thing with 6 and 8. So it tells us that the measure of angle 4 is 100 degrees. That's true. The angle of measure 7, the angle measurement for angle 7 is 80 degrees. That's true. Angle 5 measures 100 degrees. That's false. It equals just 80 degrees. So H is the one that's not true. For our next page, for number 1, it asks which group could be the angles of an acute angle. So for A, the 30 and the 60 and the 90 degree angle do not make an acute triangle. However, you're looking for two angles that are their sum is less than the third. So this C, 15 and 15 is 30, is less than 150. Then 90 is equal to 90. For this one, you would have 85 is not less than 65. And then 75 plus 20 is 95, is not less than 85. For 2, it says the measures of the sides of a triangle are 7.2 centimeters, 4.6 centimeters, and 7.2 centimeters. The triangle is, well, there's 2 congruent sides, so this is an isosceles. For 3, it says the measures of 2 angles of a triangle are 29 degrees and 47 degrees. The measures of the third angle is, well, 29 plus 47 gives us 476 degrees. So we're going to do 180, because every triangle is equal to 180 degrees, minus 76 degrees. This becomes a 10, this becomes 7, so that's 104. So 104 degrees. For 4, it says the measure of 2 angles of a triangle is 36 and 54. The triangle is, well, 36 and 54 give us 90 degrees. So that is, the other angle is going to be 90 degrees. So it is a right triangle. 5 says the maximum number of obtuse angles that a triangle can have is 1. For 6, it says in the triangle XYZ, the measure of angle Y is twice the measure of angle X. So Y is 2 times X. The measure of angle Z is 6 times the measure of angle X. So Z is 6 times X. What is the measure of angle Z? So we know that YX plus Y plus Z is equal to 180. Well, X is X, Y is 2X, Z is 6X. If we add all of those, they equal 180 degrees. So X plus X plus X, which is 3X, 3X plus 6 gives us 9X is equal to 180. So we divide by 9, X is 20 degrees. So we're finding Z, 20 times 6 gives us 120 degrees. For 7, it says, what is the measure of angle S in the triangle STU? Well, angle S is going to be 115, which is angle U on the outside, plus the angle, or sorry, it's going to equal your 2 opposites. So 115 is 75 plus angle S, which is what we're missing. So we're just going to subtract the 75 from each side. And we get that is 40 degrees. For 8, it says, which of the following triangles is impossible? An acute saline triangle, an obtuse isosceles triangle, a right equilateral triangle. That's false. You cannot have a right equilateral triangle. If the measure of an angle of an equilateral triangle is represented by 2x plus 24, what is the value of x? Well, each of those are equal, each angle, each of the 3 are equal, so it's 3 times 2x plus 24 is equal to 180. We can start by dividing by 3, so you have 2x plus 24 is equal to 60. Then we can subtract the 24 from each side. So 2x is equal to 36. And then we divide each side by the 2. So x is 18 degrees. What is the value of x? Yep, 18. For your next part of your practice, it says find the perimeter of the polygon shown on the grid. So we have 1 here, 1 here, 3 here, 1, 2, 3 here, plus another 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 2, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 3. All right, so 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 3 is 5, plus 3 is 8, 9, 11, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So it's 22 units. For 2, it says find the perimeter of the polygon. So we are going to do 10.4 plus 5.3 plus 7.2 plus 19.0 plus 6.8 plus 4.0. So 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 2 is 9, plus 8 is 17. Drop down your decimal point. 1, 5 is 6, plus 7 is 13, plus 9 plus 10 gives us 32. 1 plus 1 plus 3 is 5, so that's 52.7 centimeters. For 3, it says find the perimeter of a regular hexagon with each side measuring 14 inches. Hexagon is 6 sides, so that's 14 times 6 is 24, 6, 8, 84 inches. 4 says find the length of the side of a square whose perimeter is 300 yards. So for this one, we are just going to do 300 divided by 4, which gives us 75 yards. For 5, it says a park that is shaped like a rectangle is 210 meters long and has a perimeter of 600 meters. How wide is the park? So your perimeter of this park is going to be 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. It says the rectangle is 210 meters long. So that means that 600 is equal to 2 times 210 plus 2w. So 2 times 210 is 420. Set that equal to 600. And then we have that plus 2w. We're going to subtract the 420 from each side. So we get 180 is equal to 2w. We divide each side by the 2. So W is 90 meters. For 6, this is determine the perimeter of the polygon shown. So that's up top here. So this is 5 feet. This is 6 feet. 6 minus 6. So 12. We're subtracting 12 from this 18 to get that top, which is 6 feet. So to add these, we're going to have 5 feet plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 5 plus 18. So when we add all of these up, we get 58 feet. Seven says in circle O, the line OF is a chord. OF is here. No, it's not a chord. A radius, no. Diameter, no. No special line, say it's D. 8 says to find the circumference of the circle, use pi as 3.14. We are not going to use 3.14 for pi. We're going to leave pi as pi. So your circumference, when you're dealing with a radius, is 2 times the radius times pi. So that's going to be 2 times 5 times pi. So that's just 10 pi inches. For 9, it says a circular flower bed has a diameter of 25 feet. How much fencing is needed to enclose the flower bed? So we are finding the circumference for this. So our diameter is 25 feet, so that's just circumference is equal to your diameter times pi. So that's 25 pi, oops, and then feet. For 10, it says the length of a rectangle is twice its width. The length is 2 times the width. The perimeter of the rectangle is 162. How long is the rectangle? So we're looking for the length. So if perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, that means we are going to have the perimeter, which is 162, is equal to 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So 2 times your length, which is 2w, plus 2w. So this is going to give us 162 is equal to 4w plus 2w, which is 6w. We divide each side by the 6. 6 goes into 16 twice with 12, so it's 4 left over. 6 goes into 42 7 times. So our width is 72. Our length is 2 times that, which gives us 54 inches. For our last page of our practice, number 1 asks us the area of a square rug is 144 feet squared. What is the length of a side of the rug? Where area of a square is with the sides, one of the side lengths squared. So area is 144 feet squared is equal to the side length squared. So we take the square root of that. S is 12 feet. For 2, it says the area of a rectangle whose dimensions are 30 inches by 4 feet is, well, area is base times height. So that's 30 times 4, which is 120, and then feet squared. Three said the sides of a square are tripled in length. What effect does this have on the area of the square? So let's just say your side length is 2. If it's tripled, that's 2 times 3, which is 6. Okay, well, 2 squared is 4, 6 squared is 36. So that means that your area is multiplied by 9, so that's C. 4 says which figure has the greatest area? For 12, for F, we have 12 times 10, which is 120 inches squared. G, you have 18 times 20 divided by 2, so that's 18 times 10, which is 180 inches squared. For H, you have 8 times 16, which gives us 128 inches squared. And then for J, you have your base 1 plus your base 2, so that's 20, times your height divided by 2. So that's 200 divided by 2, that's 100 inches squared. So the one that is the greatest is G. For 5, it says to find the area of the figure. So you're going to have to do 2 areas. You're going to have to do the triangle and the square. So the 4 times 4 is 16. Then your triangle is 2 plus the 4, which gives you a total height of 6 feet. All right, so that's 1/2 times your base times your height, which is 4 minus 7. 7 minus 4 is 3. So that's 3 times 6, which is 18, divided by 2 is 9. So this is 9 feet squared plus 16 feet squared is 25 feet squared. For 6, it says a circular linen tablecloth has an area that measures 5,024 inches squared. What is the diameter of the tablecloth? Use 3.14 for pi. So our area is the 5,024. Then our area we know is your radius squared times pi. So that means that we would have 5,024 is equal to your radius squared times pi. So that would be radius squared times 3.14. We would divide each side by the 3.14. This would leave us with our radius squared is equal to 1,600. We can take the square root of both sides, and we're going to have 40, 40 inches. For 7, we have the radius of a circle 1 is 1/2 the radius of circle 2. What is the ratio of the area of the circle 1 to the area of circle 2? Well, let's just say that circle 1 has a radius of 2. That means that our area would be 2 squared times pi, so that's 4 pi. For circle 2, that means our radius would be double that, so that would be 4. So that means that our area would be 4 squared times pi, so that's 16 pi. Which means 4 to 16, or 1 to 4. For 8, it says the perimeter of a circle is 36 inches. What is the area of its square? The perimeter of a square, this perimeter of a square is 36 inches. So 4 times S is 36, which means S is 9. The area is the square, or the side length squared, so that means that would be 9 squared, which is 81 inches squared. Nine says the radius of a circle is 5. The area of the circle is, well, your area is your radius squared times pi. Your radius is 5, so it's 5 squared times pi, which means 25 pi.